Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer. Welcome back to FM23 Newton Heath, episode 18. We're in our off season, trying to get into preseason. It's still a bit early. They're not back from summer break. In fact, not for a while yet, but we have had some changes. One in particular is that Lee Novak, wonderful goal scorer, who overall isn't that high quality of a player, but he's got the right instinct, gets in the right place, does the right things, and at this level converts really well. His finishing is very good. And Lee Novak is retiring tomorrow. While I'm not actively trying to fill out a full U18 squad, I'd like to bring in, at least a handful of players just to start gauging where that's at, what we get from that. Simple, cheap one-year deals, especially when we're going to have finances, doesn't concern me at this point. So far, I've got two offers in for Southgate and Leonard here. Guys that, don't have enough ability right now, but definitely have some potential comparatively to others around. And at 17 years of age, we can store them away in the U18s for a year or two. And then ultimately see if there's any value, if there's anything worth selling later on, or at least letting them develop, or having a squad. I want to have a squad, and we need some more youth development, etc., to make all that happen. But in the meantime, why not bring in a handful of players? So while contracts end at the end of June, and that's when we'll really be making our play on trying to bring in new faces for next season, and in particular a striker, as Holm is not an upgrade to what we had with Novak. That's going to be the one key position that is in need. In the meantime, I also have 4 players under full contract now, full-time players. Start. It is a start, but that's all it is at this point. But like I said, I don't want to put too many players under contract. Why bother? Why lock ourselves into this? But it is turning out that at least in the case of 3 of them, they do have a decent amount of value that we could turn around and potentially sell these guys later on as we move up. It's not just give them away for nothing type thing market. Stature has increased significantly again according to reports, but we are still absurdly far below everybody else at our level. The current mouse where we're hovering over Callington here is where the scroll bar resides currently, and of course you can think of that as that percentage of how far we've climbed, with that being not at all, this being Manchester City at the top. We're still nowhere near halfway. We're still not even at 25%, and actually it feels like we climbed less this year than last year. I think the whole "you're in the 6th tier" boost last year became, maybe a little bit less than it was the previous year, even though we performed significantly better. But I think turning professional will see a significant boost as we go through the next year. What that does for our reputation instead of just being an amateur side. For reference, let's go ahead and find who is the next lowest in the 6th tier. And here we have Farnborough, Vanarama, National League South, so it's not a team we play against, but it is the same level as us. You can see where I'm hovering, right, as our scroll bar marker, and the scroll bar for Farnborough is way up here, top 20% or so, where we are still at the bottom 25% or so. So we still have an absurdly long ways to go. And then also there is a transition from, we are obscure, there's a transition to local somewhere along the way, but that still has our reputation. But you can see it is right here, just above Farnborough, that you get the transition to a full star in terms of reputation. So I'm guessing that is still probably another 1,000 to 1,500, 1,500 or more plus reputation points compared to what we have. And we're at slightly over 200 right now. But again, some success would go a long way to seeing that reputation rise quite a bit. Let's say we get promoted with or without a title. Seeing a promotion out of the 6th tier into the 5th tier, I think would absolutely see a massive jump. I mean, it could be 1,000 points just like that coming up. Just, or at least I would think, right? I mean, it's not that huge of an event, but when you have no reputation at all to win your level, when your level's not bad, your level's pretty competitive, I think that would be close that gap to those around you anyway. A lot of work still to do. So more of the fallout from turning professional, and I mean this in a good way, as the board now wants to discuss adding a general manager position. Not that that's necessarily something that I'm too keen on having, but sure. If they want to add more staff positions, I think that's a great idea. Expectations for the coming year, they want us to reach the playoff. It's a big step forward, but I'm keen on that being an option. So far, we are spending $266,000 out of the potential $4 million. That is still below league average, but it's not far below, and that's only paying a handful of players. So salary-wise, we are well above what would be average for the level, but that has to do with that crazy budget and what that percentage is. We took all that we could out of it, so these guys are going to be really overpaid for the level, but that's can be a good thing on bringing some players in, but expectations are coming up, so does that mean pressure is going to come along with it, and are we going to start seeing some problems, or are we going to continue to what felt like overperforming? Into July, which means the new free agents are all available, so I'm already getting out on the market and looking for new players, first team players now instead of youth players. I did end up signing about half a dozen teenagers to store away in our U18s. Training facility upgrade is done. Of course, it shows basic, but we have the gift of checking in to see what it actually is. Meanwhile, the reputation hasn't changed as we haven't been playing. Maximum club attendance? Yeah, no. We're going to reset that to the 75,000. That is part of this series, and that would have really changed things. But of course, minimum club attendance should have still been 75,000. It's going to be hard to have a maximum less than your minimum. But in those facilities, what do we have now? Training facilities, it's a 4. So it does move more than one level at a time. Maybe star-wise it doesn't necessarily move, but that was a +3 from where we were. But the youth facilities, the junior coaching, youth recruitment are all still quite low. But we have managed to bring one player in and get them signed already. That is Tyler Walker, who is seemingly going to be our replacement up top, as he is a striker by trade. It was a little bit costly, especially for this level, but again, that's kind of the situation we're going to be in. We're always going to be paying a premium with a giant stadium and the kind of resources that we eventually will have and are already even starting to have. Chadwick is kind of the best comparison now. It's not home, and we can't compare with Novak any longer. I wish we could, because that would be a great baseline to kind of check in with, as Novak didn't have it all, but he had the right skills in the right places to perform quite well. But here is the comparison with Chadwick, who is easily one of our top guys on the roster. He was one of those couple players that we signed in the second half of last season, and that was it. We only brought in about 2 players, and they were both very solid. And Chadwick is one of our best, and you can see that Walker, similar. He's a little more physical, he's got a little more speed, he's slightly better in many ways, just not as defensive, but he still has at least, some points. It's not like a 1. He's not going to recover the ball, but that doesn't mean that he can't press, just maybe not effectively, not recover the ball, but he could still put some pressure on it anyway. These two are our highest paid players, by the way. They are both making right about $80,000 a year. In the meantime, though, I do have some holes to fill. Besides Novak, I've lost 3 additional first team guys that were either bench or starting 11, including 2 fullbacks. So we are going to have to do some searching for some replacements over the course of this season. And like I said, I didn't want to just suddenly throw a contract at every guy on the roster. I was going to risk losing some of them. That's already started to happen. We've lost 3 so far, just in the past month, which has made me a little inclined to maybe throw a few more contracts in there, sprinkle in a few more just to lock down a few guys. Bench reserves. Dickinson is a pretty decent player, but he's 31, so I didn't want to throw a contract at him. But maybe we should. I've got an 18-year-old here that looks fairly talented. I don't know if we can get him signed in as a French national or not. I'll have to take a look at that to see if he is one we could have, but maybe a high potential Edward Jones, who's only 19. But again, I don't expect development to be rapid. But now that we are professional, we are theoretically just going to get better and better with time. I've got a lot of guys on loan, and some of them just came in, so I'll immediately turn around and eliminate some, like this guy and this guy and maybe this guy, probably that guy, that clearly just don't have what it takes to make our roster, especially at like 35 for that one. I don't know if this was here in years past, but I absolutely love this screen. This is the board screen within your Club Vision area, and it actually goes through your board requests one by one. What was the outcome, project work, and I love this stat here about board request data, approval rate, just some finer detail on that. It's really cool. It's been less than a month since the last one that was initiated by the board itself. The training facilities just finished barely a week ago. We already got the junior coaching budget. The youth recruitment were both rejected prior to going professional. I have a feeling that if we were to re-request now that we are professional, I think we could get something out of those. I'm going to try youth recruitment first and just see where we're at. Otherwise, I'm going to hold off till probably mid-season or October, November before we really start trying the next round of upgrades. Preseason, first preseason friendly, and it's against Brighouse. Still on the early phase of looking after players, because the market, right, the after release where you've got all those free agents, just opened up 2 weeks ago. So we're still in the early phase of that process. And even though we've signed Walker to play forward in replacement of Novak, outside of him, I'm still looking at the striker position primarily. I think he might have been offside there. Primarily looking in that striker position to, find somebody to play behind him. I've actually already released Holm. I've released about 5 players that were at the bottom end of the roster as Tozer gets the opening goal of the preseason. It's all us in the early minutes, but that is to be expected. Our preseason matchups, right, have so much to do with comparing your reputation. And because of our reputation, the teams that are willing to play against us are 8th, 9th, 10th tier teams. So we have a hard time bringing anybody who's going to actually offer us much of a challenge during the preseason. So it's pretty easy to be dominant. One notable thing before I just kind of push forward a few more weeks and see if we have much more in roster changes besides Walker himself and a few other guys that like Armstrong right now has an offer in place, and that's actually the one I was talking about. As Walker draws the penalty, Tozer is going to step up to take this. Chance to get his second and our third in just over half an hour of play, and that one's in. Matty Jacob played on the left side last year. I lost my starting right back, and that was Parrott, and my backup, who was my backup to both fullback positions. With the both of them gone for now, turns out Jacob can play either side, so we've moved him over, and I've got not one but 2 potential left backs that were in the works and try to get signed. One of those is definitely a dedicated left back, and that's Armstrong. Trying to give him kind of that shot right now to see how he is. He's not fantastic, but he's a decent player, similar to Jacob, so there's not really a drop-off there. And I think Jacob might have been slightly better than Parrott, so in a way it's sort of an upgrade, though Jacob's a little bit better on the left side than he is on the right. The second guy, though, is multi-positional. He could play left wing, but more up through the middle, so left back, defensive mid, or a center attacking mid. So 3 positions that he can fill in at and do all decently well. Gives us a little more depth and allows us to eliminate a few more guys off the roster, or 1 or 2 more guys off the roster that weren't suitable for the level. And we move forward to our final game of the preseason at home against Arnold. Again, it's another team that's way down in the lower tiers because our reputation, that's all we can get. The roster has actually taken a bit of a worrying turn as Andrew gets in deep already right off the bat. Ford is going to turn and gets called for offside, and he was retreating back, but it kind of looked on to me. Anyway, as we go forward, we're going to have some time lapses here, but time lapses with additional commentaries. I'm having to re-record the voiceover as Walker gets the opener. So Walker officially signed on. He's good to go. But so many of the players that we have had deals with, as the assist comes in from one of the few new faces that we've actually managed to sign. What's happened is we've reached a new level of player, and where our level, we can get guys, especially with the kind of money that we're offering. We can get guys as Walker gets the steal there, and he's going to go far post, bottom corner. It's in. That's 2 already. But so many of these players that we have interest in now, as we build the roster, are now guys that are worthy of the 5th tier, or even the 4th tier in a couple of cases. And teams from those tiers are coming along and giving them offers. As Hughes clears long, but Walker holds up play well. And again, the new guy. I have to look closer at what his name is later on. I can't see it here as I'm watching this on a smaller screen than normal. And Tozer makes it 3. Tozer puts that one up in the upper corner. I want to say it's Lapido by or Lapoto by, something like that. We actually blocked that one out ourselves. But anyway, these teams from higher tiers are coming along and offering the same guys that we are interested in, and they're inevitably picking the higher division. They want to play at a higher level. So now the finances that we're offering aren't giving us much of an advantage. It's the level at which we play at that is kind of ringing true and being the main decider. As that one takes a couple deflections, remains 3-0. Ford through for Walker. This time near post, keeper. He's all over that one. Reacts well, anticipates well. Another chance on the through ball for Walker, and this time blasts it past keeper into the upper corner, and it's 4-0 here. Just 24 minutes played. So we're doing really good competitively against lower opposition. Walker just onside on that one. Sets up Andrew. Andrew crosses back for Walker again, and this time the keeper will not deny him, though he gets a piece, and that's 5. Andrew, another cross. No, sorry, that's the replay. Andrew lays it off for Tozer. Finds Matty Jacob back on the left side. We have missed out. We have lost players. So here's the other thing, too. Yes, we've managed to sign a few guys, but now we have lost another 4 to 5 players in that almost first team, but mostly sub level. So guys are outbound to other teams in our division that are offering them money where, I didn't want to spend on them. So our depth, well, it's thinning out. And at the top end, even though we're finding players that want to play for us, we're not closing the deal, as they end up opting for offers from bigger clubs at bigger levels. So putting together a squad this season, a little challenging. We are better in some ways, or worse in others, and our squad is a little bit thin. Now, the one area we have not had a problem as we approach halftime with a 6-0 lead. Over the top for Walker, and again, beautiful first touch. Gets it under control. Beats keeper near post for, what, third time, fourth time, fifth time? I think he's got about 5 goals. 7-0. Tozer got one. Not sure who's had, if somebody else has had one. Otherwise, it's all Walker. I think we might have had one from somebody else besides Tozer. But anyway, as we approach halftime here, we've seen enough of the current first team squad. I'm still on the hunt for players with just a week to go till the season begins. I think it's going to continue right on into the first month of the season. Things are going to be tricky looking for players here late on, as like I said, our roster is actually getting smaller, not larger at the moment, as we're losing more guys than we're able to bring in. But it's still better quality guys that we're bringing in. It's just we're having a lot of misses. That is going to do it for this episode, though. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there, and bye for now.